I've always picked the option with the better story. The field is a reflection of you. So essentially, how you handle your personal life and your personal business reflects onto your business life. My philosophy on life is fail as fast as you can, as early as possible, and then know how to pivot moving forward. If you ever want to know what drives a person, look at what motivates him. What is he self-righteous about? And that will tell you everything you need to know about that man.
All right. Well, first of all, Richard, really appreciate you jumping on today. I know Liam kind of connected us through Instagram, and we had Liam on the podcast last week. So super stoked to get you on today. First kind of thing we want to dive into would just be your kind of experience in entrepreneurship leading up to this point. Obviously, you're running a company now. You're doing lots of exciting things. And I think it'd be helpful for our audience if you could just kind of explain how you got into entrepreneurship, if you've always been interested in entrepreneurship, or did you have any influences or anything like that? Kind of just paint that picture up to now, what you're working on.
100%, man. Well, first off, I would love to say, Colton and Tyler, thank you very much for having me on your podcast. I've watched a few of your episodes, super insightful. I love what you guys are doing. You guys are super smart in terms of investment. I've learned a lot from your podcast, so thank you for having me on.
Thank you, man.
And then, yeah, my story is I was born and brought up in Dubai. That's where I was born and raised. I lived there for about 15 years. And then I moved to Canada about 11 years ago. Moved to Lethbridge, Canada, out of all places.
Right on.
I've always been a business type of individual. Like, I know my dad put me in entrepreneur boot camps when I was like a kid.
Wow.
So yeah, it was super, super cool. I grew up there, and then I've traveled all around the world. So I stayed in boarding schools, so they put me in boarding schools as well. So I learned 6 different languages while I was shifting
Holy crap.
to different boarding schools. But when I moved to Canada, you know how brown people are, doctors, lawyers. It's the same story for almost pretty much everybody. I obviously did not want to go to school. Both my parents are in the medical field, pretty well respected in their positions, but I didn't want to go down that path. So anyway, long story short, I didn't want to go to school. So I left my home, and then I had 2 opportunities to go to a job opportunity in Calgary where I know nothing about this job. It just said advertising. And then the other one was for a big construction company in Vancouver where everything is paid for. So those were my 2 different options. So it's a
Right.
construction company. I have to do sales. They travel. They pay for all the food, and everything's already done and paid for. So that's option 1 and option 2. I obviously picked the one with the better story. So the one that I don't know anything what this company does. Let me just jump the gun and go for it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I went down that path, and I've always been an entrepreneur. I got into personal growth and development back when I was 13. And I don't know how it is for most guys, but the reason why I got introduced to personal growth and development because I've been watching some fashion stuff from Teaching Men's Fashion and Alpha back in the day.
Literally the
Yes.
first people I've watched on like YouTube kind of like coming out of being a child. Like that was my first exposure to like, yeah, like men's health, fitness, and entrepreneurship. I know Colton as well, both of those people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, man. Yeah, I was watching those guys, so I obviously got into fashion, and
Hmm.
then I got into watching videos on picking up girls.
Yep. In there.
Uh, yeah,
Yeah.
so real social dynamics, and then I got introduced to Jason Capital. I bought his email marketing course when I was like 16. So that's my first like step into entrepreneurship. And then yeah, man. Afterwards, I did take that jump over to Calgary. So I've been doing door to door. So it ended up being like a door to door company, and I'll never forget my first time pulling up to the office. I thought it was like an office job, but I pulled up. Um, yeah, awesome. Just sign the contract, man. So they made me sign a contract, and then everybody's nice. They're wearing suits. They're wearing, dress shoes, everything. Everybody's looking nice. And I
Yeah.
pulled up with 2 suitcases to the office. So I just pulled up to Calgary, walked right into the office with my suitcases, and they were like, "Awesome, man." Sign the contract, and then we all left. And I'll never forget. So we went 30 minutes outside of town to Airdrie to a Save On Foods. And then everybody's sitting with suits. We're in the cafeteria. We bought like a bunch of food and we all were eating. And then slowly, one by one, people start leaving the table and come back dressed like homeless people. like just warming. And keep in mind, this was in the middle of winter, so they were wearing jackets, scarf, boots, and all stuff like that. So, and then that's when I found out that why are we all changing? And he's like, yeah, we're going door to door. Um, so nobody told me it was door to door. So I didn't even have a jacket. So for my first day, I was knocking doors in dress shoes, in a suit, going door to door till 9 p.m. And the only way I could keep warm was actually running door to door because
Oh
that's
my
the only way my body could generate heat.
God.
But yeah, man, I've been door to door for a long time. So I did some stuff for the Conservative Party for door to door, and then we did nonprofits. So the business, we raised money for nonprofit companies like World Vision, Plan International, raised a few $1 million for that company. It's one of the managers over there. And then afterwards, we started another company right before COVID. It was a chemical company. So we manufactured citrus based, all natural cleaning products. And then we sold all across North America. So Canada from BC all the way to Winnipeg. And then we were also down in the States as well. We made a few $1 million over the past couple of years in that business. And then we also got into stores. So we were in Co-op, Centera Market, Sobeys, in terms of retail. And then my main focus was the industrial side. So I would sell to all types of construction companies, detailing companies. I know in Vancouver, we sold to a lot of companies like Mr. Lube, Midas,
Right.
GFL, all those companies. So I know most of the business owners down there. So we did that for a couple of years. Scaled that company. Company was doing good. We had about 40 people on our team, and the company's still running. But I actually stepped down as president of sales this year in January, so I can focus on pivoting to AI because AI, I feel like it's the next big thing, and I feel like I have a lot of connections in the place that I can actually capitalize on. So, been scaling the company since then, building a team, infrastructure. It is not the same as what I expected it to be. It's not like building a chemical business, but it's got its ins and outs. But I'm excited. This has been probably the best year of my life in terms of opportunities as well.
That's
That's
amazing.
awesome.
Yeah.
Um,
And Richard,
no, go ahead, Colton.
sorry. So Richard, I found it quite interesting that you said your dad was putting you in entrepreneurial boot camps back in the day. Was he, what was his background that made him want to put you into entrepreneurial boot camps? Like I've never heard of that as a child, to be honest with you. I was going and playing tag and doing different boot camps, but it was just to
I
meet
think
friends.
I
That's
think
awesome, though.
honest, yeah, it is. I'm super grateful though, because my parents are very traditional, in the sense of be a doctor, be a lawyer. So I just find it interesting that I think it's God's purpose. I think God wanted me to go down this path because I grew up Christian, and my parents are extremely Christian as well. So I think everything happens for a reason. I think quite honestly, he was just trying to get me out of the house and then do something productive during summer times. Um, but yeah, it's weird because I remember all the lessons that they taught me at that boot camp, because they taught me about mind mapping, how to structure my thoughts, and I believe that definitely played a huge role in how I, you know, process and handle business today. It definitely made me more emotionally stable. That paired with some of the extracurricular activities that I did as a kid, which is obviously sports. I think every um, successful business owner had some background in sports. So I did karate and kabuto for almost 12 years as well. So, but yeah, I just find it interesting that he did put me in that. I think he was just trying to get me out of the house, but it definitely impacted in how I approach business as well. I knew I wanted to be in business since I was a kid. So it was just a matter of time.
That's amazing. Love that. That's super cool. Yeah, like Colton said, me neither. Didn't have any experiences like that. Lots of interesting things I kind of want to unpack based on your story. Even just now, you mentioned a lot of successful people. You think most successful people play sports. I think that's super interesting. Me and Colton both played sports our whole lives, and I kind of wonder, like, what's your philosophy behind that? And I agree, and I'm curious yours. Is it just the competitive nature that is kind of instilled in you at a young age from playing sports? Is it some sort of teamwork, or why do you think that's the case?
I think it's a mixture of a few different things. I think the biggest thing is not just teamwork, it's understanding the bigger picture that it's not just about yourself, it's about winning as a team. And the fastest way you can actually get from point A to point B, is by working with other people, because if each person has 20 years of experience and there's like, five people on the team, that's 5 times 20, which
Right.
is what, 100. um,
Yeah.
100 years of experience. And that's the biggest thing I've noticed, because I had the privilege, because I was going door to door for the longest time, meeting a lot of successful business owners. I know a few people that sold their companies for north of $700 million just in Canada alone.
Hmm.
And all of them, they're very community focused on the bigger picture, and they're extremely well at delegating the tasks and working with people. And I find that people that want to do it themselves, they only stay here.
Interesting. I feel like that analogy kind of ties into your experiences. Like you said, you did your other company. You guys grew to like 40 team members as well, so you were super familiar working with people as well. Yeah, that's super interesting. That makes sense. I definitely agree when it comes to yeah, thinking about the bigger picture and working with a team, you can accomplish so much more. Do you want to
Yep.
talk a little bit about the sales? Obviously, you're knocking door to door. I'm sure you learned a lot about sales, especially in Calgary, especially in the winter in Calgary. I'm sure that was brutal sometimes. Do you want to talk
Yes,
about
sir.
some other experiences you kind of learned selling door to door in Calgary?
Yeah, man. One of the biggest. So we had the main saying is, I say this to this day, and I learned this from my mentor at the time. And essentially, what he said was, the field is a reflection of you. So essentially, how you handle your personal life and your personal business reflects onto your business life. So if you're disorganized, everything from how tidy your room is, how organized you keep your things, what type of relationships you choose to keep in your personal life reflects what type of individuals you come across in business. So if you're a sloppy person, you're going to get sloppy clients. And I found that hand in hand. And I feel like it was an absolute blessing in sales, because I genuinely got to see live feedback as to where I'm at in my life based on the experiences that I'm having in the field. So that really fast tracked my growth as well, in terms of like seeing what's working, what's not working.
And it's quite interesting from when you had to choose these two jobs in sales. You had this one where you knew everything was going to be paid for, and then advertising. You didn't even know it was door to door. But in your mind, when you chose that job, was it, screw it, this is just for the greater story? Was it because you didn't know what the potential of the job was? It was the unknown that drove you to it? What was
The
the
unknown.
driving factors? The unknown?
The unknown. I've always picked the option with the better story, and I'll always pick it over anything, because I truly believe that experience. I'll take experience over money any given day, because it is extremely easy to make money. I'll take the story.
Wow, that's super cool. I love that you kind of
Mhm.
just sent it on that. Um, yeah. Do you want to talk a little bit more about your personal housekeeping? I would say maybe that's not the best way to say it, but you said that, your sales and everything, like your experience in sales, and you heard from your mentor that like keeping your personal life super tight and organized is like affects the people you meet in business. How are you kind of managing that now day to day? I would assume super organized. You're making your bed every day and
Yep.
taking care of yourself. What does that kind of look like your day to day based on your experiences from that?
Yeah, everything's super organized, man. Right now I'm in the process of, well, not in the process, I'm doing it, but um, just buying back my time with things that, you know, I don't really need to focus my attention to. So whether if it's meal prep, I would pay somebody to do my meal prep for me, deliver it. I make my bed every single morning, and that's been drilled into me since I was a kid, because my dad, even on the weekends, would wake me up at 5 in the morning. So always had to make my bed. And then in boarding school as well, I had to make my bed in the morning. So the warden would come in, he would bust open the door, turn on the lights, turn off the fan, and then he'll start clapping like a metal pot, and it's like force everybody to wake up. Because we were forced to wake up, man, at like 4:30 in the morning, and then we had an Olympic-sized racetrack in our school, and we had to run around the track 3 times in the morning, every morning. Um, yeah, so every kid was forced to do that. But that's a funny story with that, because there's a lot of people scheming that system. It's a funny story, but you'd have I've seen a lot, man. I've seen kids in terms of hiding in their cupboards or laundry baskets so they can escape running in the morning, or they'll go sleep behind the bushes so they can. It's a funny story, but I've seen people on how they actually. Yeah, it's a good story for sure.
So
Yeah.
you've kind of taken us through, you did entrepreneurial boot camps. You took this interesting route where it was an Indeed ad of advertising, and then you found out you're doing door-to-door sales. You've now built a couple of companies and exited them. You want to tell us a little bit about Nexus Kai and how that venture started, as well as how you started scaling it?
Yep, 100%. Um, Obviously, when ChatGPT came out back in what 2024, 2023 was it?
We have this conversation every episode. When did ChatGPT come out? It's a very hot question. Nobody knows the answer.
Nobody knows the
Someone asked
answer.
ChatGPT when it came out.
Yeah,
We need to-
just put in the comments.
yeah.
But yeah, I told myself when ChatGPT came out, I was like, yeah, this is demon stuff. We're not using AI in our business. Blah 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 blah. Long story short, a year later, I actually started using AI in the business, and I knew that I wanted to get into software because I've never seen anything this big on this magnitude happen before. It's the same thing as when Amazon became a real thing, um, Facebook. So I think we're early in the market enough that if people were to enter the market at this moment, it'll be very easy for you. I shouldn't say easy, but it'll be very feasible for you to print money at this stage and set yourself as a market leader. So by the time everybody's grandma starts doing AI, you are already in a position where, hey, you know what? I have 1,000 clients. We've done all of these for people, so puts you in a better position for sure.
Interesting. Do you want to talk a little bit about what it is you guys actually do? Obviously, we looked into a little bit, but you'll far better explain to us, what kind of clients you serve, what your actual service is, and kind of your experiences with both of those.
Yep. So essentially, what we do is we make AI accessible for blue collar businesses. I've been around blue collar businesses for the last 10 years, hand in hand, saw how operations are going. And a lot of blue collar business owners don't have proper systems. I have a few friends running companies that are doing close to about $100 million a year in sales, and they don't even have a CRM at all, which is,
That's fun.
yeah, yeah, which is crazy, absolutely crazy. But a lot of blue collar businesses don't have proper systems in places. And me personally, I don't really like technology, but I understand it makes people's jobs easier. And me as a sales guy, I know you guys have a sales background as well. Sales guys hate technology. They don't want to input stuff in the CRM. They don't want to. They want to talk to the customer, do their sale. Because
Yeah.
me and my old CTO, we used to argue all the time because he would have all these systems that he wanted to use, but it would like take away time in terms of selling. But I obviously understand the importance of actually having a proper system to track data.
Yeah.
And a lot of these blue collar businesses are not tracking data properly. So essentially, what we're doing is we're making AI accessible with a plug and play offer where we do everything, and all you have to do is just check your phone. So we're really trying to make it as easy as possible for business owners to integrate AI into their business without having the bottleneck of learning how to use technology. So we really try to make it as dummy proof as possible. And that's what we focus on. So it's not like you're buying a system where enhancing your operations using AI. So whatever you're doing, let's enhance it with AI. So everything from follow-ups, AI receptionists to answer calls and do call transfers. And that's kind of what our main focus is at the moment.
I think that's super interesting, Richard, that you bring it all to their phone. Because, I mean, Tyler and I used to work blue collar jobs, and historically, they are also not good with technology. Sometimes not even good with their phones, right? Like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
remember having my boss show him how to send an email and CC someone on his phone. And it's like, come on. I mean, even I knew that. But when you obviously started this business and decided to target blue collars, did you have a business partner? Did you go on your own? Did you have to raise money as well? How did the initial startup of the business go?
Just research. I did not have any partners, but I've paid for consultants in this space that's been in the space for a long time. So I think that gave me an extra 2 years in terms of like knowledge. So I have a lot of friends in my space. I have a few of my friends that are in the tech space as well. So I have another friend who runs an AI education platform. He also is one of the main backend engineers for a pretty large cryptocurrency, which I don't know if I'm allowed to say on here.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, like he told me a few different things, gave me some pointers. And yeah, it's been super easy. I know everybody. I've been a people person, and I have a lot of people that I know in the space. So it's just a matter of talking. Um, People have reached out to me to invest in my company, but I haven't taken on anybody yet because right now we're in the phase of actually setting up proper systems, everything from client acquisition, retention, all of that stuff. So once that's done, maybe I might look at investors, but not at the moment.
That's so interesting. You've brought this up a couple of times, and I find it super insightful to kind of the leader or operator that you are, and I can see how you are thinking long term. And so specifically, I'm wondering, you mentioned, paying consultants or paying for courses when you were younger and stuff like that. It seems like you've always kind of known that you need to either pay for or bring in people and just kind of surround yourself with people better than you or with you and kind of like work together, like going back to sports and stuff and teamwork and thinking about that bigger picture. I think you can speak a little bit on how you've always just known to like, hire a consultant and stuff like that, because a lot of smaller businesses or young business owners, I think, are scared to hire. They don't want to spend the money. They don't know who to hire or anything like that. But me and Colton talked about it with Liam. We've talked about it before. A big difference maker, I think, for scaling your business from, 6 figures to 7 figures to 9 figures is like being willing to like spend the money to like level up and like hire and surround yourself with better people. Like, have you always known to do that? And how are you planning on integrating that, I guess, long term to continue to surround yourself with those people?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think you're the first person that's ever asked me that.
Thank
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think you guys both know this as well, which is this goes back to teamwork as well, but you can condense time by utilizing other people's failures and experiences. And I think Tony Robbins talks about it actually, where you're able to condense time by learning from the mistakes of other people. There's obviously some things I personally believe that you have to go through yourself to understand certain things. But for the most part, you can buy people's experiences and condense 200 years of experience in like a month if you really
Mm,
wanted to. Because do I want to spend 20 years learning, about X thing? That's going to destroy me later in the future. Absolutely not. So if somebody's already went through it, went through the trials and tribulations, tested it out, I think you can condense time. I think as an entrepreneur, though, the biggest gift and the skill set that you would need to focus on is the skill set of discernment, which is able to see who's a fraud and assess threats at a high level so you can actually make the right type of investments on where you need to pivot in your life. And I think that's the biggest thing every entrepreneur needs to focus on.
how are you finding focusing on that or keeping that at the forefront of your brain? Because obviously there's a lot of sharks out there, and you have to be careful because if someone wants something from you or even sees the potential in you, like they might see the potential in any of us, they want to help us out because they're ahead of us. How do you kind of navigate that? Because me and Colton talk about it a lot. We've been fortunate to not really been in a bad situation before, but it's something to consider. So how are you vetting your mentors or your consultants or these people that want to help you, but they could be sharks and they just want to take advantage of you?
I love this question, man. Yeah, amazing question. So, um, with the biggest thing for me, the biggest thing I realized at a young age, because especially if you're a young entrepreneur, you're going to have an influx of older people wanting
Mm-hmm.
to support you because, oh, you have lots of potential. Let me give you this piece of advice, and this is what helped me. But in the end of the day, these guys are only making $5 to $10 million a year, which is not a lot of money if you think about it. And they're limited. They're bringing in and they've stopped growing for the last 30 years. So maybe in their younger age, they were like pretty
Mm-hmm.
progressive in terms of their thoughts, but now they're stuck in their ways. And then my philosophy on life now is I did a Facebook post recently. I'll send it to you guys later after this, but I said, if you guys make sure any decision you make in your life is 100% your fault. So you shouldn't have the ability to say that, oh, because I listened to this guy, I wasted all my life. It's like, no, you have the power to say no to people. And just because somebody's making a couple $100 million a year doesn't mean that you should listen to them, but use discernment,
Mm-hmm.
because even fools grow old
Hmm.
in
Yeah.
the end of the
I
day.
will. That's super interesting you say that too, because even in this business that Tyler and I are in, I've noticed some guys who have made a couple $100 million or they're worth a couple $100 million, but
Hmm.
then hearing how they got there wasn't necessarily the best way, the legal way, whatever, and they cut people off, they burnt a lot of bridges, but they made that money too. And I think
Yeah.
as someone young, it's also you have to see both sides of it as yeah, your name is everything. I think it's Warren Buffett who says it takes 20 years to build your reputation and 5 years and 5 minutes
Amen.
to destroy it. And
Amen. Amen.
it's respect how I can already see from our like short conversation we've had how you are wanting to keep your reputation good. You don't want to bring in sharks. You're surrounding yourself with good people and you just want to keep growing. And I really respect that. But was there, I guess the question is, was there a big fault or someone you brought in that screwed you over that taught you that lesson too? Or were you always cautious? Or was there a lesson that really burnt that into your memory?
There's a few lessons, but I'll be honest. I'm grateful for every single experience. I think God gives you purposes to prepare you to be the man you need to be to go help other people. Like let's say you, Colton and Tyler, like every experience and downship that you guys face right now, God's giving you guys because He knows the type of man that you guys are meant to be to help millions of other people. And all these experiences shape you into the person that you need to be. And I don't hold anything against people that I've had bad relationships with. I think they don't know what they're doing. They're only doing it because they were raised a certain way. So whatever, forgive them, move on. But I'm grateful. My philosophy on life is fail as fast as you can, as early as possible, and then know how to pivot moving forward. And just to answer your question, Tyler, I know you did bring this up earlier. Um, Human psychology is one of the best things any entrepreneur that's
Mhm.
pursuing business in this day and market needs to focus on. And one guy I find extremely helpful, other than Robert Greene, is Chase Hughes. Um, Amazing guy, and my ability to break down people psychologically is insane right now, purely just based on his information.
That's amazing you brought that up because I wanted to dive into kind of like psychology and your mindset and then, people that you've read about. And you literally bridged that gap for me. But I would ask if you would speak a little bit more on that because I'm very impressed with your mindset. Everything you've kind of outlined, it sounds like you have a really strong mindset. You're extremely motivated. But I really appreciate how grateful you are for your experiences or for your hardships. And me and Colton are the same way. Like, seriously, every day me and Colton FaceTime, we're like, man, I'm so happy for this life that we're building. This is amazing. And it's like, I feel like it's so important to stay like grounded as you start building out that life that you want, but stay grounded and appreciative. And then, yeah, as far as your mindset goes, you obviously have an extremely strong mindset and you're always working on that. What does that look like? Like, do you try to read every day? Do you try to get through a book a month? And then, with mentorships and stuff like that, obviously you've had a lot of experiences in your life that have kind of shaped up your mindset. Is there anything beyond that you're actively kind of doing to continue to build on your mindset with books or courses or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not the best reader, but it's something that I'm actually actively working on to become a good reader. I do listen to audiobooks.
Nice.
So I split my life into business, spiritual, and psychology. These are like the three things that I focus on. So business, my go-to guy is Alex Hormozy.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
of
Yeah,
course.
Alex Hormozy, Tony Robbins, Myron Golden. I know you guys are huge guys for Jeremy Lee Minor.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jeremy Lee Minor. Yeah, so those are the guys for that part. And then for spirituality, there's a book that I've read at least. That's the only book I've consistently read over and over again. And I probably read it like 20 times this year. But it's called The Kabbalion. I don't know if you heard of it.
No.
No.
Okay, let me see if I have it. Yeah, Kabbalion is a really good book. It talks about how you can use basically mental alchemy to create a reality you want based on thoughts and energy. So it's got 11 laws that you can actually use to control um, your reality. And that's a very good book to read. And another person with business, actually, I have his book, Patrick Bet-David, I think is awesome.
Love Patrick Bet David.
Yep,
What
amazing
what
guy.
what what's that book? Is it Tyler and I've read it a couple times now, and it's probably one of my favorite business books. Be 5 steps ahead like a
Your next
grandmaster, I
five
think.
moves.
Yeah,
Next
yeah, yeah.
5 moves.
The next 5
Yeah.
moves. Yes, sir. Yeah. I think that's amazing, especially as a business owner, if you're planning to build a team. He covers everything. He has quizzes you can ask yourself to see if you really want to be an entrepreneur. Talks about golden handcuffs and how you can get people to work with you long term. There's a lot of things that this book covers. And as a business owner, you have to think about not just yourself, but the people that you are planning to bring on. And that's a good book.
Interesting. Yeah, I love that you brought up like a lot of those guys. We listen to them, we read their books as well, and Patrick Bet-David as well. I love Patrick Bet-David. I love his story, his mindset. It's just so inspiring. Me and Colton were talking yesterday when we were in the studio in Vancouver about Patrick Bet-David. I brought him up. So that's great. Really appreciate you kind of like coloring in your mindset a little bit and all of that. Maybe let's look a little bit forward now. We've kind of covered your experiences getting into entrepreneurship, your influences, your mindset. And I know we could talk for days on this. You know, you have such an interesting story, and I'm sure we could relate on a lot. But for the sake of keeping this first kind of conversation concise, do you want to talk a little bit more forward looking? You know, what you're planning on doing with Nexus Kai, how you're planning on kind of scaling that, and just kind of look to the future, what you're hoping to accomplish, maybe even beyond that, personally, spiritually. What are you kind of looking to accomplish in the future?
That's a great question and appreciate your kind words. My main focus this next year is honestly just building out the systems in the business because we have some big things happening, which I really can't talk about at the moment. But setting up the infrastructure in place to handle some of the bigger clients, because I'm moving more towards like the higher end SaaS products in the space. But I would like to get an additional 50 to 100 people in the company, but really focus on fulfillment. That's going to be our main goal this year, is setting up systems and processes to automate and optimize fulfillment so we can handle a large portion of customers. But this is just a stepping stone. My main future goal and what I want to do is more philanthropy, as well as my personal brand. So talk about this kind of stuff, spirituality, business, and then like doing charity is like always been in the forefront of everything that I do. I don't usually talk about it a lot, but that's a huge part in everything that I do. So that's kind of where I want to move forward to.
I respect that a lot, Richard, because I mean, Tyler and I can relate to the reason we want to make money and stuff is also help each other and our families. Just taking it back, a quick step is you said you want to scale to 150 to 100 people. Now, when you hear entrepreneurs talk, they say, hire slow, fire fast. How are you finding this process, and how are you finding good candidates? I mean, everyone lies on resumes now, and it's hard to find hardworking people who want to grind for your business. So how are you navigating those steps?
At this point, it's just a numbers game, man. I'm a person. I know they say hire slow, but I'm at that stage right now where it's like, if I don't get a bad feeling from them in my initial meeting, I'll hire them, even if they don't seem qualified for the job. Like, I'll give you an example. So one of my setters right now, Shannon, she has no experience in sales, no experience at all. And then I brought her on. First week, she booked 21 appointments, and she's consistently booking every day, 2 to 3 appointments every single day since then. Most people would say, "Oh yeah, we don't want people without experience." And then I brought her on. She's doing amazing. So I think of giving people chances, and then unless they give you a reason not to trust them, give people chances.
That's interesting. You brought that up. Two things. One, I love that you are willing to kind of connect with somebody and kind of feel them out and give them an opportunity. As we kind of lightly discussed before this, me and Colton were both doing construction. I was in construction 3 months ago. Colton, I don't know, 10 months ago now. And we both were kind of looking for that person to kind of give us a chance to transition into a new industry, new jobs. And we found that now, and we're so grateful for it. So I really appreciate how you can kind of meet somebody and get a vibe for them and be willing to give them a chance, just like we were given. So that's number one. And number two, you said you're really focused on fulfillment. I think that's super interesting. I'd love if you could speak a little bit more on that, because I think a lot of people get really like excited about having like 100 employees and doing like 100 million in business, and then their business fails, or it can never reach that because you don't focus on what you actually do. And so the fact that you are so focused on fulfillment, yes, you say you're hiring and stuff as well, but you really want to make sure that your offer is really sound, is super interesting. How did you kind of know that's so important? Has it just been your experiences so far in your life, or did you learn that somewhere?
Yeah, 100%. That's a great question, man. And tell you something I learned in psychology. If you ever want to know what drives a person, look at what motivates him. What is he self-righteous about? And that will tell you everything you need to know about that man. So based on whatever that they're extremely self-righteous about is usually something that they felt a lot of pain in their previous experiences. And for me, fulfillment was one of the things. I was like, yo, okay, so I'm really just going to do my best in terms of fulfilling promises. So I don't want people to feel the same way that I felt. And that's just the main thing. Because if you are paying for a service, I believe you need to go get the amount of value that that you paid for. And dude, it's been crazy, man. In the last month, I've had probably at least like 4 or 5 people reaching out to me every day for like help. Random people I never know. And just by helping these people, I find more opportunities are falling into my lap. It's the wildest thing.
Now, that's interesting because you just said that you're helping people. And off the podcast, we talked about how you're kind of thinking about starting to build a personal brand and start content. Do you want to go into that and the initial idea behind that? And if it was because people are reaching out asking for help and what your personal brand is going to start looking like?
I always wanted a personal brand. I remember I had an argument with my mom when I was like in 7th grade because I told her I want to be a YouTuber. And then she's like, no, YouTube's not going to pay your bills. And we had this huge thing. And then literally like, I think it was like 4 months ago, she told me, like, you should be a YouTuber. And I was like, yo, I just told you this like when I was a kid and you convinced me not to. Yeah. So that's when I realized that, I'm not going to listen to anybody. I'm going to make my own judgments. But yeah, in terms of like my plan for my personal goals, I'm going to be starting up a podcast. We're in the works for it. So we already have a couple of guests lined up already. Now it's just a matter of building our studio and our set, which I might ask you guys for some help on after this.
Of course.
But yeah, that's kind of what I want to focus on, talking more about spirituality and business, and making sure that if I am talking to younger entrepreneurs, how to properly discern opportunities that come to you and instill in them that money's not everything. Focus on principles and values, and that's way more better than money because that's going to make you more money than anything else.
Wow, that's amazing. Your story is so cool. Really appreciate you jumping on. Like, we kind of try to keep the episodes around 30 to 40 minutes, keep it concise. I know we're going to want to have you back on, Richard, when you have time. Obviously you're super busy, but 100%. It was so great to hear your story today. And I really appreciate you jumping on the podcast.
I appreciate you guys having me on, man.
Thank you, Richard.